Howdy, Beaver Bart here, and welcome. Try to make this a relatively short stream, but I want to talk a little bit about the sound, the importance of sound, and the importance of music within a game development environment. This doesn't necessarily have to do with Unreal Engine 4, but that's what I'm using, and that's what I develop with, so that's what we're going to run with for talking about this basic system. Why do you need to worry about having sounds and music? Well, honestly, and I'm just going to bring up a sample project here and run it in standalone, so you'd see what the player would see, although it would be full screen instead of in a window. Having a menu with no sound whatsoever, it's quiet. It's way too damn quiet. There's nothing here. There's no real graphics. There's no information. There's nothing. There's nothing going on. Nothing to engage the audience of the game. You've spent your hard-earned money or whatever. You've installed this game, and then you open it up, and there's nothing. You need to have that wow factor first off. Whenever a player first creates a game or first gets into the game for the first time, you need to create that environment. You need to set the mood, the tone, the feel of what you want your players to feel emotion-wise. If there's no sound, it's already boring. Okay, having a few clicks whenever you're clicking on things and the navigation, that's one thing. But there's just nothing here. And then when you actually go into a game, whether you're hosting or single player or whatever, you go in, there's nothing. There's no sound. There's no wind. There's no music. There's nothing to really push the feel of what's going on. So, yeah, what can we do to fix that problem? Well, the first thing is with something like this. Now, I'm not running any starter content in this project, but I'm going to go ahead and add starter content. Again, if you don't know how to do that, just add new and add feature or content pack. Go to content packs and starter content, add to project, and it'll add it to your project. Just that easy. Not sure why the stream health has gone to orange, but oh well. Welcome to AT&T. So it takes a couple moments here to get it set up, but once it's there, it's there. Now, if you're not going to use a lot of the stuff that's in the thing, like these geometry pieces, get rid of them. You can delete what you don't need. I'm not really worried about it on this project because I'm going to end up deleting this project shortly after this video anyway. However, it does come with some things like starter music and starter cues. They'll be good enough to get us started with. So what I'm actually going to do is go into the map that's in this project. So when you click out of the menu and you go to your first map, what you're going to want to do is create those sounds to start. Alright, well, we're going to try it first with the actual game map, then we'll go back to the menu and we'll actually add music to the menu. But if you want to add sound to your map, there's one way you could actually do it, and that's create a sound cue and just drag it and drop it directly in the map. However, it's probably not going to be the most advantageous. Then you have attenuation settings and so forth. But if you just want, no matter where you are in the map, you want to hear this sound, then we can start off with looking in the audio folder, and we see that there's all these different things to look at. The ones with the purplish colored lines on them, and they're black with just a weird waveform to it, those are actually the sound files. And the ones that have the blue stripe on the bottom, those are actually sound cues. And to take a sound cue, well, we can look at the names on these. We don't want collapse or explosion or fire, although these are nice to have as well. We want starter background cue. And I'm going to go ahead and select it. I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to select it. And then I'm going to go to, well, first off, I want to make sure when we launch, we go into standalone, just for my own personal taste. I'm going to click on Blueprints, Open Level Blueprint, and go in. And now we can create an event, begin, play. So whenever we first begin playing this level, what do we want to do? We want to play sound at location, and then we can just click the arrow because we already pre-selected the sound that we wanted before we came in, and that's good enough. We can actually click on that arrow and bring down and change a few settings here. I'm going to actually change the volume settings to 0.6. It's going to bring it down to 60% of the volume level, instead of 1 being 100% and 0 being 0%. 0.6 then becomes 60%. So I'm just going to compile and save, close that. Now whenever I go into the map, you can hear birds chirping. You hear the sound of wind every so often, but it's not going to be overwhelming because we turn the volume down on it. You can actually turn it up, turn it back up to 0.8 maybe, if you want it to be a little louder, but it's just enough to where you're actually inside the game. And let's actually go in, and just like we did before, we can go right into the section here, and we'll do 0.8, compile and save. Now if we go back in there, it's going to be a little bit louder. That's good enough to really start off with, but you're going to want to do things inside your map to create a little bit of other ambience. Instead of just running around, okay, we're doing stuff, you could add sounds to whenever your character jumps. You can make a huh sound or whatever. You can make your own sound effects. Audacity is a good program to get for creating things like that. If you've got an older copy of Windows, hell, you could use Sound Recorder and make your own sounds that way. Let's actually go back to the main menu and let's look at that. So I actually have a map dedicated for the main menu map. So if we were to actually now go into our audio, we actually have starter music. We can actually take a listen to it. The volume's a little bit low, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to go to my blueprints, open level blueprint, and now I have stuff that's already in here because what I need to make sure happens with a multiplayer game is whenever we come back to the main menu, we need to destroy the session. That way we can host a new section if we need to, or the player that was the client can then create their own hosted game as well. That's a whole different ball game. So what I'm going to do is just come in here and add a sequence node, and we're going to drag a pin down from here and do our play sound at location. And again, we're not really concerned about our location because we wanted to cover the entire map. We're not trying to set up any zones where we only hear the music. But on that, I'm going to go ahead and set the volume to 0.8 just to turn the volume down just a little bit. And now here's the thing. If you want your music to continuously loop, if you hold your mouse over it, you can see, well, that's not going to help me. Starting music is, the cue is set for 10,000. That means it's going to automatically loop. If you didn't have a sound cue created, which you should create one, then you'll see that the duration of the sound of that music is 47.857822, whatever. So you would just set a delay at the end of your play sound at location. For this particular one, since it's 47.8, I would just do 48 seconds for my delay here, and then it would automatically loop back in. But my sound loop, which we'll look at that actually right now. Let's save that. If we look at our starter music cue, if we look at the actual thing right here, it's set to looping right here, so it'll automatically loop that sound file. So you can create your own, and all it is just the output node that's already going to be there, and then you create a new thing, a new sound. So if we want to create our own like that, we can right click on an empty space, go to media, no, I'm sorry, not media, sounds, and create a sound cue. And doesn't matter what I call it for right now because I'm going to delete this one in just a second. Now we need to add a sound file to that, or a whatever to create. And I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to delete this one, and we're going to import a song and show you how I actually do that. You're going to want to find a song that you actually like, and in the description of the video I've actually got a link to TechnoAxe. And this is where all this music comes from, is from TechnoAxe. Great guy, great music, and it's royalty free. So go into their site and just listen to a bunch of stuff. You can download it free. There's no sign-ups or whatever, nothing stupid, but it's a really good site. So I'm actually going to do one that I know that I have not already converted, so I can show the conversion process really quickly. Just listen to a bunch of different music. No, I'm not going to go through 96,000 songs just to pick out one. Let's see what we got here. Turn my volume down just a heart. Alright, we're going to use this one just for the hell of it. Dusty Tearjerker. And this one I've downloaded from TechnoAxe. So what I'm going to do is actually bring up, and if you're not familiar with Audacity, it's free to download as well. So we're going to open up Audacity, and I know this is in my YouTube music whatever folder. So now you just want to go to File, Open, and you want to find the actual song that we're looking at, which was Dusty Tearjerker. I'm going to open it up, and since it's easiest to work with 16-bit WAV files with Unreal Engine 4, wow, that thing's really peeking out. So all I'm going to do then, once I've got it loaded, I'm not going to do anything with it other than go back to File and Export Audio. Go to the folder that I want, and you can leave the name the way it is, or you can change it. And I'm going to save it in WAV, Microsoft signed 16-bit PCM. Not the best audio format, but this is what I use. It works. And then hit save. You can add some information to the track if you want to. I'm not gonna, so I'm just going to click on OK. Takes a couple seconds, and it's done. You can actually close this, and no, I'm not saving anything. There, we're done. And I believe I saved it to this folder, Dusty Tearjerker. So now what I want to do is, since I like to keep everything neat and clean, I'm going to create a new folder called Assets. And inside there, I'm going to create a new folder called Audio. Keeping organized is a good thing. And then I'll create another new folder for Music. Now, all you got to do is grab that file, which was Dusty Tearjerker. You can see it's a wave sound. And I'm just going to drag it over here, and till you see that icon with the shadowed box and a plus sign, and then let go. Just left click, drag and drop. Alright, so there it is. It's in here. And you can play. It's going to take a couple seconds to actually load up and play the first time. But there it is. And you can click on that again to actually stop it. I'm going to hit Save All. And then, since we want to make this a looping audio sound to actually play in our menu, I'm going to right click on it, and I want to create cue, and then I can just hit enter. It creates the name automatically for me. I can go into it, and when I click on that, I can just click on the looping tab. So now we have this as a looping cue. Now if I want to go back to my main menu, all I have to do is go to my blueprints, open level blueprints, because I'm already in there, and I want to make sure that I have it selected outside. I can left click on it here, go back into the blueprint, and then click on the arrow here for the sound, and now we're going to have the Dusty Tearjerker looping in the background of our main menu. So now compile and save and hit play. I can't hear it. I don't know if it's because I have my volume turned down quite a bit. I don't actually have a headset on, just the microphone. So yeah, you've got your sound cue. It's saved. Yeah, it's just that the volume is really, really low. That's why I can't hear it. So yeah, there it is. So it will play and it will continuously loop. As soon as that file ends, it will automatically restart and keep looping over and over and over again. That way, if somebody goes AFK and they come back, they still have that music playing in the background. It's just not going to end. If you chose you wanted to have multiple different songs in there, you could actually, let's actually hit exit game. In your sound queue, you can actually add multiples in here. And if you wanted to, I'm going to add in a second one, and all I'm going to do is come back over here to my audio folder. Since I already know that there's a starter music in here, I can grab that and I can actually make it really easy. I can just minimize the window, left click, and just drag it right into my blueprint, and then like so. Now I can grab this from right here, and I'm just going to drag both of them over here just a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag off from the output node and select random. So we'll just use a random sound node, and from that we can now drag the output to here. And if you want to add in more, all you have to do is click on that and just add as many as you want. So I can actually delete that input if I want to as well. But you can add as many as you want in as a random thing. So now if you hit play queue, see it chose to use this one. You can see which way it goes. So if I hit stop and hit play again, now this time it chose to use that one. So I'm going to go ahead and hit stop. And I want to make sure that on this one right here, we set it to looping. Now, that may or may not be a good thing, because it's just going to want to keep playing over and over again. But experiment with it. This is just a blueprint, just like anything else. You can actually bring in a looping node, so you could actually get it to do that. You can do other effects, and being that it's just a blueprint, experiment with it, see what you can come up with. You know, there's all kind of different nodes you can drag off, and look, you got all this stuff right here, crossfade, and you've got a lot of stuff you can actually play around with, like a mixer. You can add more than one sound at a time. Yeah, sorry, I tried to start a little bit earlier. It's 7 o'clock in the evening here in the U.S. on the East Coast. So I tried to start a little bit easier, but it's kind of hard to judge time without actually, you know, using my brain and stuff and looking up to get the time zones. So I wanted to do this one a little bit earlier. So sorry it's so late for you guys over there. But actually, I just want my dusty tearjerker is all I want for my menu. So I'm going to delete the rest of it, and there you go. Save, and we're done. So it's so easy to add music that way. Same thing if we went back to our map, and if we wanted to add our, and again, this is just a blank map, there's nothing here. Reflection captures need to be built. Oh, we can solve that. We can get rid of that sphere. I don't care. So if we wanted to add music, well, we've already added in the passive sound of like wind and birds chirping and so forth. That was added in here so that we have something beside the just pure silence. Now if we wanted to add in music as well, we could do essentially the same thing, Control C and Control V, and just add another one of these in. And for our sound, we can actually open up this and find our Dusty Tearjerker cue, and now we can add that sound to it as well. We got the volume set to 0.8. That's okay. We'll test it out and see what it's like. So now it's going to have both sounds going. So now we have the wind and the birds and everything going on, plus we have a little bit of music. Now the importance of music whenever you're developing a scene, I probably wouldn't do it like this with a blanket sound. So we're going to do it a little bit different way. So I'm actually going to take that back out, hit compile and save, so that we just have the wind playing. So you're trying to build an environment, you're trying to build a mood. You want to make it to where when your player is in a quiet, peaceful area, they hear the birds chirping, they hear soft music maybe. You're trying to pacify them, you're trying to get your players to be calm. Well, whenever there's an action getting ready to kick off and you want to start building some tension or suspense, or you want to build a mood, your music really needs to embody what you want to convey to your players whenever they're in your game. So again, if you're in here playing, it's boring as crap because there's just nothing now but just a little bit of sound of wind and birds chirping. So if we want to add in some ambience or some sound effects, what's in the starter content is limited. Take some time, Google it, look for some different websites for sound effects. You can add sound effects, but what I want to show is a sound attenuation system. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a blueprint. We're going to make it an actor, and what I want to do is create, let's see, there was I thought there was a circle base. Yes, right here, platform. So we're going to add one of these platforms in, but we're going to do it in the blueprint, and I'm going to scale it up a little bit so that we get an idea of what it's going to be. So in here, what I want to do is, and this is just purely for example purposes, I'm going to grab that in the architecture, the asset platform. I'm going to come in here, go to add component, and it's already pre-selected for my static mesh, so bang, there you go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it up, because if I just drop this into the map right now, it's going to show up as that size, and we want it to be actually bigger. So let's actually look at it in our blueprint. We have it selected. We're going to do it 5 by 5, and let's compile, save, and now it's a lot bigger. So what I want to do is just use this as a example. This is going to be the radius of our sound that we're going to create. So now we can come in here and we want to create, what can we use for that? We need to have some sort of sound. So what I'm going to use is the fire sparks, and fire cue. That's not going to be loud enough to really amount to anything. So I'm just going to use our sound cue that we created for our song, the Dusty Tearjerker, so that we can get an example of that. So I'm going to select it, and then what we want to do here is we want to add a component. Let's actually go ahead and add it while we don't have anything selected. And we want to add in audio, Dusty Tearjerker. Now, we want to change our attenuation settings. So if we just have it in there, it's just going to be playing. And I'll give you an example of that. Let's compile and save and go into it. Now we can hear it all the way across the map. We can hear it. There's no attenuation settings. So what we need to do now is we need to look at our attenuation, override attenuation. So now we don't have an attenuation setting created for it, so we need to actually create one, because you can see this is actually freaking huge. So if we just started doing this right here, then let's try out first off 0.5 by 0.5 by 0.5. Yeah, see, it's not really doing anything. So we're going to actually have to create a well, we can do the attenuation distance in here for a temporary one. So the fall off distance, let's actually change that down to 500. And we're going to do our inner radius at 500. So the inner radius of where it's going to be loudest now is going to be right here in this pad. But we're going to hear it a little bit as we get close to that pad. But if we're far enough away from it, we're not going to hear it at all. So back here, we don't hear it. We don't hear any music whatsoever. But now as we get close to it, we get into the circle, we can actually hear it. So now if I move away from it, it's gone. But I only hear it whenever I get to that one point. So when you're trying to set up an attenuation level for a specific area, you want to start building a tense situation. Of course, this is probably not the best song for building a tense situation. You want when your player comes up to this point right here, you hear some hard driving music. They know that something is getting ready to happen. But until they get to that point, that music's not going to be there. You start getting closer, you hear faint sounds of music. But as soon as you cross that threshold, you definitely hear it. When you get to the very center of that point is when it's going to be at its very loudest, and then you start getting away from it, it's going to go away. So hopefully that makes sense. Alright, so that's setting sound attenuation for music and stuff like that. And just the same is when you're trying to create something like a quick example would be, let's create another new blueprint. And we'll just call this pad. We go in, and what we want to do is add a component, which we're going to add a cube. And this is just purely for example, 2 by 2 by 0.1. And we're going to set the Z height to 5. So this should put it directly on top. And then we want to click off of it, add a component, add a box collision. And then what we're going to do is go into our event graph here in just a minute. We want to change our scale on our box collision to 2.5 by 2.5. Actually, you can do 3. And I'm going to leave it at 1. So what I want to happen, as soon as I walk into this cube, I want to play a sound. So let's go to the event graph, and we can actually delete everything in here. We can right click on the box collision, add an event on component begin overlap. So now, in this particular case, if you're doing third person character, then you do cast to third person character. I'm doing cast to player underscore base because that's what my template uses. But you want to cast to your player. Your player is coming from the other actor and from here. And as that, what I want to do is nothing off of this leg, but I want to play sound at location. So to make sure we get the location correctly, so we're not doing it for everybody, what I want to do is I want to get actor location, and then I can use that as the location to play the sound file. And for this particular one, I'm going to use explosion cue. So now whenever we step on this box essentially, or onto this pad, it's going to play this sound file. We can leave the volume the way it is, everything else like that. Everything should be good. So let's hit compile and save, and let's go ahead and throw it into the map. Screw it, let's throw a second one in the map. So now we go to play, everything's good to go, and we can hear it play the sound as soon as we walk over it. I use these for creating a pain pad so that whenever I'm testing my player's health, I can test to see that, the health bar goes down. I can actually have this decrease the player's health and stuff like that. But we just want to talk about sound. So that's how you would do a trigger effect. Now you don't have to have the box put in there. You could just use the box collision only. And the only reason why I put the box in there is so we could see where it was. Now I will actually, if I have an area where everything is choked down to where the player has to pass through a specific area, what I've been known to do is to set up a spooky environment for, like say, haunted woods or whatever. I will create it and get a series of sound files together that are specifically for setting that spooky environment. So now as soon as you walk through the box collision, which you can actually take that box collision and you can rescale it once you've got it into your map. You can make it however big you need to. Move it around. You don't have to use the box. I just use it for a visual representation so we could see where it actually was. But when you're actually placing it in the map, if I were to take away that box, then we're actually going to see it still, but the player won't see anything. We can see it here. We know that it's there. So when we go to play it and we're playing the game, it's not there. So when the player walks through it, it's still going to work, but it makes it invisible. So you can actually hide these all over the main path areas and create this spooky effects. You walk through this, and then you hear a chain rattle. You walk through the other one, and it plays random mix of sounds, like a crow in the background, or a scream, or a moan, or something of that nature. You can use these to build your ambience of your missions or your maps or whatever else, so that you have something audio-wise to engage the player, and that's what you want to do. And when you're picking out music, and we'll look at just these ones that I've already downloaded before. We listen to this one right here, that Dusty Tearjerker, and that's okay. Well, it's not a bad one for, you know, like maybe a menu or something like that. If you want to try to find something that's a bit more suspenseful or more of a background feel to it, like I've used this one a few times. Good background sound. It really just works for being in the background playing. Now, like this one. Has kind of a dark vibe to it. Just same with listen to your music while you're actually working on parts of your level. Let it play in the background. Just when you're creating that environment, you're going to want to listen to the same sound file 40 frickin' times. It's one of the last things you're going to add to a map anyway, is your music and your ambience. But you always need to have that in your mind of how you're going to build that suspense and how you're going to build that environment for your player. You know, I've got a bunch of different ones that I've already downloaded and listened to and have in my head for different versions, for different things. So, another good one for a background. So you can just use what you want to do, music-wise, to set the mood and the tone for your players. And if you're not using good audio, then your player is just going to get bored quickly with your game. And I noticed that with some people, they don't take the time to actually build the right sound environment for their game. And it just comes across as being lame, honestly. Now with the TechnoX website, like I said, it's royalty-free music. So this is a little bit more of a driving song, so it's gonna... If music doesn't set an emotion in a person, then they got problems. Sorry, but... Not saying you have to use heavy metal or something like that, but use music that's actually appropriate for the scene that you're trying to set. If it's a spooky environment, put spooky music in there. If it's a quiet, peaceful area, you may not even need music as long as you've got the right ambient sounds playing in the background. And honestly, it can make or break the scene. And I'm going to see if I can actually find... I have to reorganize this hard drive. This hard drive is filled with nothing but content for Unreal Engine 4. That's the only thing that's on this hard drive. It's actually a half terabyte hard drive just for Unreal Engine 4 assets and files and music and textures and what have you. God knows how many animations are stored on this freaking hard drive. But do a good Google search, find you a good website. There's a lot of free websites out there for sound effects. I know that for gunshots, like I actually found on one website royalty-free sounds, and it's like a 9mm pistol sound that I use. the gunshot sounds. These are the sounds that I use for all of my games pretty much for right now, because to me they sound good enough to get the point across. Here's some other sound that I have tucked away here. The sound of a sword swipe. Whenever you're using your sword, you want it to actually, you want to hear something. You don't want to just see the sword moving through the air and not have a sound effect to go along with it. So sound effects, music, everything and anything you can do to help to build that environment. Lighting is very, very important also, but I'm just going to stick with music for now, and because that's what this video is about. So, does anybody have any questions on that before I get ready to end this this video? Again, the link is in the description for the Technoaxe website. It is very worth the time to go listen to the music, listen to what he's got to offer, and I'm sure you're going to find something on that website. And actually, let's actually go to, and I will show you the website. So let's see here. There we go. Getting so many windows of everything. So when you first go to the website, you can actually just click on music. Pick out what you're looking for. There's a bunch of different styles here. We can actually look for, say if we want background music. Click on background. It'll load here. And then you've got a bunch of these. These are actually also on YouTube. So like this right here, Midnight Rooftop. You click on it, and what will happen is it'll reload the page, and you'll actually get a YouTube video in here. And you can actually listen to a preview here, and then if you choose to, you can click on the download and download the music. It's going to be, most of them are going to be in MP3 format, and whatever. But you can use Audacity to convert them over. And then again, you can scroll down a little bit, and then just scroll through all the different, I mean, just in this one background music category, all the different songs that are available for you to listen to and choose from. If you decide you want to choose a different version, you can go back to music, and then let's try suspense. And I've got a lot of these already downloaded, but you pick one, you go to it, the page loads, you hit play, then listen to it. You can pause it, you can hit download, and it'll come up with the link to download in MP3 format, and there you go. Great website, and do recommend that you you click on the Creative Commons attribute license, read it, learn it, love it, know it. One of the ways that I actually help to follow through with this is I actually have a logo that I've downloaded and use. So in my UI folder in my simple multiplayer template, it should already be in there when you first download it, which is the Technoaxe logo there. So let's actually make sure we save this and close these two guys down, and let's go back to our main menu. So now, to see it, what we can do is I'm just going to pop this back into my main menu. So here's our main menu, and to add that in there, all you got to do is just drag it in. So I want to make sure that I have the image selected. Come back over here. I want to grab, add an image, drag it to right here. We're going to anchor it to the bottom right, and in our brush, click here, and there it is. Scale it however big you want it to be, and it's all set. Compile, save, close, and play, and there it is right there on our screen. Alright guys, I hope you found this informative. Please leave some comments after the fact if you're watching this video later. Hop on the Discord. We're welcome to talk to you about sounds and help, try to pick out the right vibe for, getting that sound set up for getting your game to feel right, and setting the correct environment so that whenever your players get into your game, they don't look at it and say, oh, okay, I shoot this? You want to build that emotion. You want to drive their adrenaline up. You want to get them engaged into the game. And if you can get them feeling what's going on, if they get lost in the game to where, oh my god, this game is so good, versus, it's not bad. So you have your sound attenuations like this, so that whenever you're setting up an area, you can have them overlap as well. So like our invisible ones we have over here, which is for our explosion sound for right now. Well, when your player gets to a certain spot, they hear this music build up, dun 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 dun, dun. They build a suspenseful thing, and then if they said, okay, well, I'm not going over there just yet. Okay, now I'm ready to go back in there, and they get back to that spot again, and there's that music again. Holy shit, something is bound to happen whenever I cross over here. So, yeah, build it up. Make it right. Alright guys, I thank everybody for watching. Again, check with me on Discord if you have any questions about this. Leave comments in the description here. And, you know what? Spend some time, add your music, add your sound effects, and I promise your game will go from meh to outstanding. Alright, we'll see you later guys, and again, thanks for watching.